Hello and welcome to the Bundesliga show, Thursday edition. I'm here with Peter Weiss to go through the predictions for match day 22, which is already upon us, isn't it, Peter? Are you looking forward to this weekend?
Absolutely. Depending on which side of the fence you're on, you can also look forward to more protests as well. I imagine there'll be some more of that.
Yeah, and obviously myself and Peter are heading over to a game as well today. We're going over to FC Nuremberg versus FCK, episode 3. Obviously, Peter's winning 2-0 so far, so I've got to be due a win at some point in the near future, haven't I? But let's see. Two off-form teams, but definitely looking forward to that on Sunday, and there will be a vlog to come sometime probably next week as well. So yeah, Peter, let's start off. I mean, the Friday night fixture, FC Köln versus SV Werder Bremen. What can you say about Köln? I mean, they should have got the win really last week against woeful Hoffenheim. Like, Hoffenheim were terrible in that game, actually. And it looked as though Köln were going to get a massive win in what was an extremely scrappy game on the Sunday evening to close off the last match day. They kick off this match day against a side, Werder Bremen, who obviously lost their 7-match run last time out in unfortunate circumstances, in truth, against Heidenheim. They created so many chances in that game. Boré hit the post. Dux missed a number of chances as well. So they were a little bit unlucky to lose that one. Yeah, so both teams on pretty good form, all in all, if you take away last week's defeat against Heidenheim. But I still feel as though Bremen are in a much better position overall. I still think, that they look a good team. There's so many players on form for them, Stage. I always call him Stager because I always think he's probably a German. But no, the Dane Stage is really, really good. There's so many players that are coming on. And Jinma has been an absolute revelation in the second half of the season as well. And for me, I do believe that Bremen will get back on track in this one. I just think Köln are due a poor performance. They have improved a lot under Schultz, but I think, to make it 4 unbeaten is asking a lot for this Köln side. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 away win here. What do you think, Peter?
We sync up exactly. I think that Köln actually were very, very poor against Hoffenheim too. That was a wretched match that I found difficulty finding words to describe. Max Fink-Gräfer is doing great for Köln, but other than that, we have a pretty below-bang average team. Interestingly enough, Bremen, I think, played very, very well last week against Heidenheim. That was the most entertaining of all of the fixtures that we got in the previous round, in part because, as we were talking about on the Monday pod, it was the only one that was not interrupted by protests. So we have actually, yes, a 2-1 win is an excellent, or a 2-0 win, beg your pardon, is an excellent tip there, and great minds sync up immediately.
Yeah, get your money on Bremen this weekend, guys. Yeah, just a few messages in as well. Ballum, yeah, Rory is fine, but he's driving down south this week. So, yeah, he will be back with the Fantasy Football Show tomorrow morning. So don't worry about that. Hi to Erin as well. Yeah, hey, guys, can't wait to see the show. Good to hear from you from Philadelphia, USA as well. Fantastic to see over there. Yeah, and obviously FPL Gunnasaur as well. It's been a while since we saw you as well, but yeah, good to see you back in the chat as well.
We're going to put up a comment about Köln or the Crystal Palace of the Bundesliga. Go ahead and throw that up.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, good one from FPL Gunnasaur. It's kind of like the Crystal Palace of the Bundesliga when they don't have Elise in as fit. Yeah, you're pretty much right. They don't score very much. The football isn't exactly pretty to watch at all. But yeah, definitely a team on the up at the minute with 3 games unbeaten. But yeah, we're both going for an away win in this particular fixture. So yeah, another game, Wolfsburg versus Dortmund, where, I mean, the away team is going to be quite big favourites as well. I mean, Dortmund just keeping clean sheets at the minute, don't they? Not a team particularly renowned for keeping bags of clean sheets, but they've already kept 4 since we came back in 2024. The latest of them was a very comfortable shutout last Friday evening against Freiburg, who I don't think really created anything in that game at all. And then they're coming up against another pretty blunt team, in truth, in Wolfsburg, let's be honest. I mean, it's been a long time since we saw them provide the best football. I mean, in the last home game, they were quite good against Hoffenheim. They managed a couple of goals in that one. But I mean, obviously, one of them was a penalty, so I guess that kind of dumbs that down a bit. But I think overall, Dortmund are looking good at the moment. Really, I think Füllkrug has been fantastic. Really, since coming in, he's gone under the radar, but he's got 10 goals and 7 assists now in the league. So nobody's complaining about that. He's going to fancy filling his boots in Wolfsburg as well. Obviously, Sebastian Haller as well is going to potentially make, I would imagine, only off the bench in this game, but he should be involved in the squad for the game on Saturday afternoon as well. Should be great to see too. I'm sure I'll get a hero's welcome from both sets of fans, I think, in that game. But for me, this is a game that Dortmund should be winning ultimately, and I can see them doing so with another clean sheet in truth. So I'm going to go for another 2-0 away win here, Peter.
Yeah, that's a good tip. I will go ahead with a 2-1 win. I think that Dortmund are overdue to concede some goals. If you had told me that Dortmund would be keeping as many clean sheets in the new calendar year as they have, with Niklas Süle reporting back to training camp in horrible shape that he was, I would not have believed you. But somehow they've made it work. Thank you for bringing up Sebastian Haller. Mark and I had obviously a wonderful time watching the AFCON final on Sunday night, and Sebastian Haller is the hero of his nation. Can't wait to welcome him back. There's potentially also an interesting return on the Wolfsburg side as well. Kovac stated in his presser today that Lukas Nemecha, the German striker of half English descent, is potentially ready to get some minutes off the bench in this one. Felix Nemecha, his younger and surprisingly more successful brother, remains out for Dortmund, but he may be back in before the end of the season as well. Yeah, I think that Wolfsburg weren't necessarily bad against Union last week. Wolfsburg are, of course, often known for not finishing their chances under Kovac, not playing a complete 90 minutes. I think they're going to give us a good game here. I think they'll give us a good show, but I'll still go with a 2-1 Dortmund victory.
Yeah, and then moving on to another interesting game. I would say more towards the bottom of the table with Mainz, but obviously Augsburg are, plucking away a little bit higher in the table than where we're used to in recent years. But still, it's been a little while since they got a win now after a tough run of fixtures. So this is a game that, I think most people will probably say it has a draw written all over it, as they say, really, because I think Mainz, we all know Mainz's problems. They just don't score goals. I mean, I feel as though Ajorque has been better again in recent weeks. He seems to be putting himself about a little bit more again. And I actually thought he was quite good against Union in the last home game, the game that Peter attended. And we obviously have the vlog as well, so check that out. But as for Augsburg, I feel as though they score so many goals, in this season. I've never known an Augsburg team score as many goals. I mean, we've got Demirovic on 12 goals this season at this stage. It's just ridiculous numbers, really. And he just plays well almost every week. Tietz is a bit more up and down, but he can still score goals. Obviously got his latest one last week against Leipzig. And just in general, that midfield with Rex behind, Dorsch and the like, it's looking pretty good. Kevin and Barbu deserves a mention too. This is a game that Augsburg probably should be winning in truth. But the problem is that they don't win many away from home. They've only actually won one in about 18 months away from home. And 2 in 18 months. And that was at Gladbach recently. And then previously at Heidenheim in October as well. So I'm actually going to go for a draw here. I wish I could tip my boys Augsburg, but I'm not that confident they can win away from home in this kind of game yet. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, but it could be an interesting match this one. I think there'll be a lot of chances either side, and it might depend on who takes them. What do you think, Peter?
You seem to have surprisingly little faith in your Fugerstätter, Mark. That comes from experience, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Actually, these are two sides that we've both done vlogs for recently. If you'd like to learn how to sing the club anthems in both German with English translations, we have vlogs up there for you on both clubs. Moreover, this one is very interesting because it's the Battle of the Danes. Rune is probably going to be, my Bully News colleague is going to be looking forward to this one. Because we have Gestorup, who has done the former Copenhagen coach, has done just a fantastic job turning Augsburg's season around since taking over for Enrico Maassen. And he is, this is where it gets really ridiculous. After Mainz sacked Jan Siewert, they brought in another Dane named Bo to help save them from relegation, just like they did 3 years ago. I'm not quite sure I'm convinced by this appointment yet. Of course, I don't know anything other than the press conference that I covered on Wednesday. But yeah, it seems like they're trying to catch some Danish lightning in a bottle. I'm not sure if that's possible. And I just I don't know about this appointment. It seems like they're trying to go for the lucky rabbit's foot. Mainz, it's going to take a long time, I think, for Henriksen to sort out a set of tactics. Siewert was all over the map. His players don't know who they are, where they are, what they're supposed to be doing, what roles they're supposed to be fulfilling. So I am going to tip your Fugerstätte for a 3-1 away win at the Mewe Arena. I have faith in them.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. But yeah, a few questions coming in from Henriksen as well. Yeah, I mean, I personally can't really profess to knowing that much about Henriksen in truth so far. But yeah, that is a good question. Will we ever see Mainz score more than a single goal again in the game? Yeah, it has been 11 games now since we saw that. The last one was actually Jan Sievert's first game against RB Leipzig when they won 2-0. So yeah, it has been a drab run in front of goal. You know, Johnny Sivo hasn't worked that well, and you know, Ajork just isn't getting the goals. Although he did score last week against Stuttgart, to be fair, so maybe that might push him on a little bit. But yeah, Peter, do you know a lot about Henriksen? You mentioned that you're not that convinced, but do you have a lot of knowledge of him?
Well, he took over the side, Andre Breitenreiter's former Zurich side in Switzerland, and I have watched a couple of matches there. I mean, I try to catch a little bit of Swiss league when I can. I'm not very, very far from the Swiss border. He has done a very good job in Zurich. This is, of course, his first Bundesliga appointment. He certainly knows Bo Svensson. I mean, Bo Svensson was a Mainz player. He came up through the academy. Before Svensson left for Liefering, he received some excellent tutelage from his colleague and former teammate, Marco Rose, whom we're going to get to in a little bit. Maybe that's not a good thing. But in any event, I think he's at best sort of a Bo Svensson light. He talks a good game. He talks I want to be Danish national team trainer someday and things like this. But this is his first real big club appointment, if I'm not mistaken. And he's got his work cut out for him. I mean, what Siewert was trying, he was trying not only Ajork, but also Jessica Gankam up there as striker, along with Johnny Burkhardt and Karim Onasiwo. Nadia Mamiri hasn't been able to, after a very good debut match, really figure out whether he's supposed to be playing at 8 or 10. For some reason, Marco Richter is not in the starting 11, even though I think he probably should be the starting left winger. Maybe if he makes that tactical move, we could see something I think special unfold. But Mainz, there is no system in place. He's not inheriting the embers of a system. So I don't think he's going to be able to turn it around relatively quickly. And our boy Demirovic watch him bag a brace in this one. Watch him do it.
Yeah, you don't have very much faith in your fellow Felters over there, it seems.
I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to hate them. But
that's true. Yeah, that is true. So let's have a look at the next one. So Hoffenheim, Union Berlin. I mean, Hoffenheim's home form has been atrocious, basically. Like, let's be honest. I mean, I think they've only won 1 or 2 games at home, and they struggled to a point. They were pretty lucky to get a point against Köln last week, which is just woefully poor, really, in a game they should have been winning quite comfortably, in truth. This is another one against Union Berlin, who are actually steadily scrapping away. Their points tally, they're not that far away from the likes of Gladbach, Augsburg, and even Heidenheim now. They're only 4 or 5 points away from those kind of teams. So, they are slowly improving under Bielitsa. He's not for everyone. He's had that long touchline ban. A lot of the credit will go to obviously his assistant as well. She managed to get quite a few results when she was leading the line as well. But they came back they've become a very defensive team for me, an extremely defensive team. But we have seen improvements from the likes of Dookie again. And I think Diogo Leite has got better. You know, they've gone back to basics. That's how I describe Union Berlin. Hoffenheim, yeah, I'm underwhelmed with them at the minute. You know, after such a good start to the season when they were scoring goals, you know, Bayer was doing well, Kramaric was doing well, and the numbers for those players are not bad. Like they've got 8-9 goals each, which is still very, very solid for this stage of the season. But I just feel as though in recent weeks it's just not working out. I think Prömel's form has dropped as well. He's had a couple of kind of knocks and suspensions, but they need to get him back on form. I think Stark has disappointed me in truth since his move from Mainz. I don't think we've ever seen him hit the top form in Sinsheim yet. Oh, how to tip this? I'm actually going to go for a 1-0 away win here. Sorry for a lack of goals this week, but like I don't think this is going to be one for the, you know, for goals lovers, if I'm being honest with you. And I think Union are the more on-form team. I'm struggling to tip this one, but I'm going to go for an away 1-0 win. Peter?
That is my tip exactly. Union never been a particularly offensive team, and they're not really going to come out of their shell. They don't have their attack very well established yet. Right now, they're running with Volland and Hollebach as the two strikers, and that's sort of 3-5-2 copycat of Urs Fischer's old system. Yeah, this one just has 1-0 written all over it. I don't know who will score the Union goal. I think that Union are steadily improving. I mean, one of the big problems is they've had Josip Juranovic out, and Trimmel picked up a suspension, so they literally had nobody to play right wing back. One can expect that they're going to improve, I think, in the coming weeks, but not quite yet. When it comes to Hoffenheim, we can talk about the home form all day long. Pellegrino Matarazzo, the New Jersey mathematician, just absolutely refuses to allow me to compliment him tactically. Every time he puts together something workable tactically, he messes it up by over tinkering with it. And last week against Köln was a perfect example. I think we got a 1-0 win for Union here. Quite possibly another managerial sacking, or trainer sacking, managerial sacking in the English parlance. Coming out of Sinsheim within a couple of weeks, because it's just not working out for him.
Yeah, definitely. They're already on 7-8 without a win, and failure to a defeat here, and he's not going to be far from the brink, I don't think. Yeah, the big spending Sinsheimers. So yeah, one of the games of the weekend, really. 8 unbeaten Heidenheim against 21 unbeaten Bayer Leverkusen. So yeah, I mean, normally in this kind of game, you're thinking it's going to be tough to tip. But for me, just what Leverkusen have been doing, I think I mentioned this on the Monday show, that I just don't see Leverkusen slipping up. I really don't. I just think the team is so good. I've also got so much faith in the squad now. My worry in the first half of the season was, what if a few players get injured? What about during AFCON? But they've just answered all of those questions, you know, and the likes of Andrich, Hincapié have just stepped in brilliantly for obviously the Kosunu in the AFCON. He could potentially be back. I think that's going to be interesting actually to see if they do go with Kosunu as well, because I mean Hincapié has been fantastic, and you know that Hincapié, Tar and Tapsoba worked brilliantly against Bayern. So will they actually even get Kosunu back in? You know, which is a crazy thought when he was considered to be their best defender in the first half of the season. But that's just the way things are going for Bayern Fear at the minute. Like everything they do is working. You know, Andrich has been brilliant too, alongside Xhaka in the midfield, and maybe Adli might even be able to keep his position as number 9 potentially too. That would be interesting. Or maybe they'll go back to Schick against a more physical Heidenheim side. Who knows? But regardless of what happens, I'm still going to go for an away win here. I think I could see Heidenheim getting a goal off a corner, because they are just machines off corners. Really, like it seems though every single game they get at least one goal from a set play or a corner. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 away win here. Peter?
Yeah, I'm going to say we're going to have the same scoreline as we did in the Hinrunde, with Leverkusen winning 4-1. Xabi Alonso really has the Midas touch at this point. I don't think he can do much wrong. Whoever he selects is going to do a fantastic job. There isn't a player on this team who is in poor form at the moment. And Yeah, there's some talk in German footballing circles about, but overachieving Heidenheim and Leverkusen may take this match for granted. I think that's nothing. No one on a Xabi Alonso coach team is going to take anything for granted. Not this year. 4-1 win. There we have your goals. We have some goals for you in this one.
Yeah. And then talking of goals, another game that people will probably predict them in Darmstadt, Stuttgart. I mean, this is another team. I mean, Stuttgart, I'm just running out of superlatives, really. I actually thought last week against Mainz, that was maybe one of the worst performances of the season, and they still scored 3 goals. So I think that says everything you need to know. I mean, they were dire for 40 minutes against Mainz, actually, and Mainz should have been 2-0 up, would have been a fair scoreline at that point. I mean, they missed a couple of absolute sitters, the away team. But this is what Stuttgart do, they just win games and they score goals. Those two things are just synonymous with this Stuttgart side. And I can see it being a similar story here. I mean, Darmstadt, they've been fighting the whole season, and respect to them for that. There's never been a stage where you thought these guys are going to be a Greuther Fürth of a few years ago, or even a Tasmania Berlin. They've competed for most of the season. Okay, they've had a couple of batterings against Bayern and the like, but this Stuttgart team are just getting stronger and stronger. And they're similar to Leverkusen. Everything they do tactically is just working under Sebastian Hoeneß. I mean, when Zagadou got injured a few weeks ago, people were like, the defense is going to fall apart. But it's just not happened, really, And they've got the dilemma that Guirassy is going to be fit for this game too. And is he going to get back on the team? Undav has just been a machine as well, really. Like, he's... what is it now, 14, 15 goals in the league? He's only 2 or 3 behind the great man himself now, which is just ridiculous numbers. These two teams, really, Leverkusen and Stuttgart, I just can't run out of superlatives for the seasons they're having. And I see another win for Stuttgart here. I just think there's too many goals in the team for this Darmstadt side to deal with it. And I think another 3-1 away win here for me. Peter?
Yes, also 3-1, and that is also a repeat of the scoreline that we had in the Hinrunde. I think that you hit the nail right on the head, really, when it comes to Stuttgart-Darmstadt, or when it comes to Stuttgart and Leverkusen. I'm rapidly working on this tactics column and I'll have it released tomorrow. It's a very, very long one, in part because there's so much to say about the state of Bayern right now. But there's also so much praise for the tactical acumen of both Xabi Alonso and Sebastian Hoeneß. I mean, Hoeneß has really, his later match adjustments this season have been incredible. And we saw another really, really nice late match adjustment, which I was studying and incorporating into the column against in the win against Mainz last week. And he's got all his weapons back now, really. I mean, he's got everything that he could possibly want. I think Silas is a little bit too exhausted to be used after a long AFCON campaign. And Nübel and Uwalt are both going to be out, but that doesn't really matter. I mean, for Christ's sakes, he's got Pascal Stenzel playing well. That's speaking of a trainer who can do no wrong, who has the Midas touch, who can always pick out the right guys. I mean, Hoeneß, he's just absolutely on fire at this point. So another game with some goals in it for you. 3-1 for Stuttgart.
Yeah. Who knows? Hoffenheim might even want Hoeneß back after this run. Who knows? But yeah, it has been wow, what a season, really. What a season for those two teams. Yeah. But yeah, moving on to the top spiel on Saturday evening. But it's a team that are not on top form, that's for sure. RB Leipzig, and another side that are probably in even worse form at the minute, Borussia Mönchengladbach, who, to be honest, I am starting to run out of faith with them a little bit, because I've been tipping them up all year because I actually think they've played well in parts, but I am running out of faith with them a bit. I mean, I thought they were pretty woeful against Darmstadt last week. They created a few chances, but to not score at home against the weakest team in the league is poor at the end of the day. I mean, they did miss a great chance through Jordan, but it's just not working for them at the minute. It's either the defense or the attack is not on form, and they don't put in 90-minute performances. I think for Leipzig, they were good against Real Madrid. Really, they were very unlucky to lose that game. They could easily have ended up nicking a 2-1 in truth in that game, but obviously they end up coming away with a defeat. But it was their best performance probably since in 2024 in truth. So they come into it on a bit of form, obviously not without the result, but they played well. And I can only see a Leipzig win here in truth. I feel as though, under the lights is normally when Leipzig play the best. And I feel as though it'll be quite a comfortable 3-1, but this time a home win for Leipzig. What do you think, Peter?
Yeah, I think your sentiments on Gladbach are my sentiments exactly too. It's really been disappointing because we thought that this was maybe the year that they could sort of break out of this mid-table mediocrity and could remain a part of the conversation at this stage of the season. And they gave us plenty of reason to believe so. Until recently. I mean, they've just settled back into this old familiar pattern of boring and oftentimes ugly and blocky and choppy football. And this is for the third year running under the third different head coach. So what the hell is going on in that part of West Prussia? I mean, Leipzig, no prizes either, really. And they struggled against Gladbach in the Hinrunde. That was just a really, Gladbach nearly beat them. It was a narrow 1-0 victory with the goal scored by, you remember this guy? I believe his name was Timo Werner.
Yeah.
Was he, I think he was a relevant footballer at some point, but not so much anymore since we decided to loan him out to Spurs. But anyways, something. Here's my tip of the weekend. Not only unexpected, but this has some relevance as you and I will probably be meeting up in Nuremberg in preparation for our Sunday match. You know what? We might want to go out to dinner rather than watch this one. I'm going to tip a 0-0 draw in the top between Leipzig and Gladbach.
Yeah, that's a big tip, especially considering Gunnar Soros has gone for a 3-3 draw. Wow. Yeah. I hope you're right, FPL Gunnar Soros, and not Peter. But yeah, I mean, probably won't be watching it, obviously, because as Peter said, we'll probably be out for dinner during that. But
I mean. We have to decide whether or not we want to go out to dinner at a place that's showing the match, and we'll see about that. We'll see about that. I mean, if it ends up 3-3, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But I mean, Gladbach Darmstadt ended up 3-3 in the Hinrunde, and I had high hopes for that last weekend. It was a terrible football match.
Yeah.
Oh, good God. I mean, I thought I was watching the Dritte Liga when I was trying to review that. I still haven't figured out something to say about it.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to Sunday's double header. Freiburg, Frankfurt. By the way, Frankfurt did play a 2-2 draw today in Union Saint-Gilloise, but they were 2-0 up, so they might not be overly happy with that draw. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of off-form teams at the minute, Peter, don't there? It's been a bit of a strange season in some ways because we've had so much quality at the top of the league, particularly from Leverkusen and Stuttgart. But a lot of the mid-table teams are just very up and down at the minute. And these are two prime examples. I mean, this is the 7th versus 6th fixture, but the two teams are playing more like 17th versus 16th in truth at the minute because neither are playing well. Particularly the home side. I'm a little bit worried about Freiburg at the minute because the defense I've never known it to be so poor since I've been following the Bundesliga very closely. I mean, I'm just not feeling this Sildilia Makengo at fullbacks. It's just, they can't defend, basically. It's as simple as that. And they look so porous through that on those wing sides, really. And, Atabolo, he's actually got a decent number of clean sheets, but he needs 2 years to really get to top level, in my view. He's got a lot of potential, but we have seen a few errors or less convincing good keeping in 2024 since the Rückrunde commenced. For Frankfurt, again, I mean, they've had a weird season because on one side they're doing well because, they had so much upheaval in the summer. Like, they lost so many key players. It's almost ridiculous. And there have been bright sparks. Chaibi has been great. Larson in patches has been great. One of the big signings too. But I'll be honest, I've been a bit underwhelmed by Kalajdzic and Van der Beek so far, although Kalajdzic did get a goal tonight, so that might be able to kick him on. I mean, I'm not sure what's happened to Van der Beek because he's not even been playing the last couple of games.
Go ahead and do your tip. I'll tell you what's happening with him afterwards.
Yeah, but he is a player that's had bad fitness records and also bad on a number of points. Yeah, but this is almost an impossible game to tip, if I'm being honest with you, really, because I have no idea what's going to happen in this game. But because Freiburg are probably due a win, and I think Frankfurt are probably more focusing on the second leg of the Conference League next week, I will go for them to turn the tide and get a 2-1 home win. But it's not one for betting on, for sure, this one. What do you think, Peter?
Well, I know what's going to happen. You answered your own question about Van de Beek. It's a fitness issue. He's having some problems passing fitness tests in training. Really big disappointment for Frankfurt tonight. We wanted to incorporate the Union Saint-Gilloise game into our predictions because, well, we've watched a lot of Union Saint-Gilloise. They're old games. We watched a lot of them last year. That's where Leverkusen got Victor Boniface from. I think that this was a very, very important test for Frankfurt after two very disappointing draws in the league. And I think they failed that test. I think that, Topmüller, he's not going to be on the hot seat anytime soon. But what's going on with Frankfurt after the transfer window that they had is highly disappointing. And not just the transfer window. I mean, they didn't just get Kalajdzic, but they also got most of their AFCON actors back early and in good form. Marmouche even scored last week. Larson, as a matter of fact, got hurt last week. He's going to be out for 3 weeks. So, Freiburg are very, very disappointing. And the reason is because Christian Günther just can't get fit. He made a brief comeback off of the bench last week, but they don't have his leadership in defense anymore. And as you mentioned, these fullbacks, Makengo and Sedilia, they're too young, they're too green. But it's just a rebuilding year in Breisgau is what it is. And it's come down to that, is that they have a lot of young kids that they're trying to bring to the systems. Injuries haven't necessarily helped. But they've got a lot of kids that are just not quite ready for prime time yet. Christian Streich, in some of the press conferences that I've been covering, man, does he look tired. I hope he can hang on. I think he's just looking really haggard and tired this year. I think maybe he's tired of the rebuilding projects. He can always coach the German national team after Nagelsmann out of the Euros. He's more than welcome to do that. But Freiburg are really poor, but I have to say Frankfurt are poor as well. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw here again, the fourth consecutive Frankfurt draw, and there's going to be some talk about Topmüller cropping up here because he's not making the best use of the weapons that he has. His tactical arrangements are just not bringing out the best in these players, and they're missing out on a golden opportunity to leapfrog Leipzig, and that's something that Max Krösche has to think about. Yeah, absolutely. It's been a strange season for both these clubs, as you say, but I guess it is to an extent a rebuilding year for both. But I suppose Frankfurt have got way more money to do it with. That's the problem than Freiburg. But yeah, going on to one of the most important games of the weekend, the last match of the week, the late kickoff on the Sunday, it's Bochum Bayern. I mean, obviously this is a friendship match as well. Let's not forget that these two clubs do have a friendship, which is a little bit bizarre. Really. You've got the riches of Bayern and the not riches of the Ruhrpott, so it's quite an interesting friendship between these two clubs. But it's a game that Bayern Munich need a friendly favour from Bochum as well, because I mean things are just not looking good in Bavaria. Basically, I mean obviously the defeat last night. I've seen mixed reports. Some people said there was a reaction, but in my view, there wasn't that much of a reaction. That was my view. I thought it was a pretty poor game from what I saw last night, and neither side was particularly good. But once again, Bayern came a cropper again, through a moment of idiocy from Upamecano. It ended up getting a red card and a penalty. And now, for me, this is win or bust for Thomas Tuchel. It's as simple as that. I really believe. I know they've come out this week and said he's continuing, but we've heard that before. You know what I mean? So for me, failure to win this game, and this will be the last we see of Thomas Tuchel. That's my view, anyway. And I'm really sorry to say for Tuchel fans, but I'm going to go for a draw in this game. I just feel as though Bayern
it's just not working out for them. I mean, the tactics are poor. He doesn't know who to go for in midfield. You know, he dropped Pavlovic yesterday and brings Kimmich back in, who is a little bit better, but still he looks unhappy in truth, Kimmich. And I believe that his time at Bayern will end in the summer. I don't see him staying beyond the summer at all. And it's probably best for both parties in some way, in my view. But yeah, I can actually see Bochum getting an equaliser here, unless obviously we do see a friendly favour, so to speak. You know, it is possible, but I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. It might be crazy, but when it's bad, when it rains, it pours. You know, and that's the case for Bayern at the minute. What do you think, Peter?
If you're correct, I think a draw would be enough to spell the end of Tuchel's regime. Anything less than a win will mean that he is terminated. On the Monday pod and also in the tactics column, which it's going to be, I mean, I have a lot to say about Bayern. I have zero qualms about declaring the era of Bayern supremacy, Bayern supremacy. One must be careful with the syllables there. Over. It is done. They are not going to win the Meisterschale this year. They are not going to get very far in the Champions League. They're going to have a trophyless year, and at the very latest, Tuchel will be sacked at the end of the season. I believe that they're just finished. It's done. I mean, the Mia San Mia spirit no longer exists in this fragmented team, with all of the turnover that we've seen in the front office and the coaching staff, and all of the discord, and the fact that the generation, the core members of this generation are aging or falling out of form. So I think that by the era of Bayern supremacy is over. As Gunnosaurus correctly points out, Bayern are known to beat this team 7-0. Although we shouldn't forget that Thomas Reis's Bochum upset Bayern at home. That was in 2022. That was in the Rückrunde, I believe. So it is possible that Bochum could pull off something spectacular, but I'm going to go for a 4-0 Bayern win. I think, but that does not mean that they're back in the title race. That doesn't mean that they should be viewed as competitors to Leverkusen. I think there's a lot of factors speaking for the fact that this era of Bayern dominance is over, and I believe that, and I believe that firmly. But they'll get the job done here and prolong the conversation just a little bit more.
Yeah, interesting tips there. So yeah, if my tips go through, then yeah, you're really starting to look at the end of the title race. I mean, it will be 7 points gap, which you really can't see this Leverkusen side relinquishing at this stage. Yeah, Stuttgart will be hot on the heels of Bayern as well. Actually, yeah, who knows? Maybe they could still get second, but they'd be looking very hot in Champions League form. You know, with still 6 points gap between them and Leipzig. Then looking towards the bottom of the table, I mean, it's as it's been for pretty much the whole season with those three teams now for weeks and weeks. They've been the kind of propping up the table, haven't they? So it will be Darmstadt bottom, Mainz just a point better off, and then Köln just a little bit further clear in that relegation place with a 6 point gap and a much better goal difference to 15, which would be Gladbach potentially. Wow. I mean, yeah, that'd be pretty brutal reading for Gladbach fans come Sunday evening if it does work out like that. But yeah, Peter, what about on your table? Have you got your updates as well? Or?
Well, Bayern, that's the big one. That's the big one that we split the difference on. So they're 5 points behind Leverkusen in my table. Leipzig are really missing out on the top four race thanks to the fact that we split the difference on Leipzig-Gladbach. And I think the only other match that we disagreed on was, besides Frankfurt-Freiburg, which doesn't really have any relevance for much beyond mid-table, was Augsburg. I believe that your Fugerstädter pick up the win there, and that would leave Mainz and Darmstadt both on 12 points. Unfortunately, Köln can't really put any distance ahead as they're projected to lose as well.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks again to the guys that checked in, Ballum, Gunnosaurus, Erin as well. Fantastic to hear from you guys. So yeah, we'll be back again. The show will be back again tomorrow morning with Rory and Runa for the fantasy football. But if you are interested more, then check out our Twitter at Over the Bar and being at Over the Bar Extra. Remember, we're not only a YouTube channel, we are also a podcast. So leave a rating and follow us on there. And then if you do stick with the YouTube, then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as well. So yeah, thanks to Peter again. I'm sure we'll be seeing you on Monday. But yeah, to the rest of you, thanks a lot and see you next time. Bye-bye.